Hey everybody, welcome to Musicians Musings. This is the place where we reflect, learn, grow, and just have fun as musicians in ministry. I'm Zeke.
And I'm Zay.
Let's get into today's podcast.
We got something super exciting happening right now. With us in the studio, live and in person, is our special guest, Dylan. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Dylan Withers, and I'm from Buchanan, Michigan. I'm not sure how special the guest is in your sense of the word, but I'm glad to be here.
I don't know if you were listening on the previous podcast, but I've been super excited.
I was.
And there's actually one coming out tomorrow morning, and I'm like, Zeke, we got to tell him.
Yep.
So that was fun. Okay, so we're going to start out. This episode is going to be just like an interview, and then the week after this one comes out will be at least part one. I don't know how far we're going to
We could release it
go,
at the same
but
time.
we're going to release it at the same time.
Why not?
It'll be debated either way. But the one after that will be about the intentionality of music. So make sure you stick around for that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be a good one.
Zeke, do you want to do this interview?
I figured we were going to go back and forth.
That works for me. You got the first question.
All right. Wait, hold on. I got to find it.
How about this? I'll take the first question while you pull those up.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, first question. What first got you into music, and who are your biggest influences?
So I'd have to say my biggest influences were not musicians, but they were my parents.
Good one.
I've been a musician longer than I can remember. I started drums when I was 2 years old. So there isn't a time where I can remember not playing music. So does that answer the question?
I think so.
I think it does.
Whether you were playing like an instrument or singing or a mixture of both, maybe.
Yeah,
As a little
absolutely.
That was it. So I think that answers it. Can you share the story behind your first live performance, whether that was a church service or maybe like a concert recital as a little kid or something?
So my first time playing music in church, I had practiced and practiced and practiced. I got up there on the platform with my Squier Stratocaster plugged into an acoustic amp,
Oh, man.
There you go.
and I blanked. Like, I don't remember it at all. I got videos, though. It went good. I just wasn't there for it.
Hey, that's awesome.
How did that help you as,
It encouraged me to practice.
yeah.
For sure.
I've had moments like that.
For sure.
Before like I was ever into music, like there's a video of me out there in social media world of me like at 5 years old playing acoustic guitar, singing the Bible song, completely like flopped. I didn't even finish like the first verse type of deal.
That's great.
So that is out there, I guess, if you were trying to find that. I don't know where, but it is out there.
I'm going to have to go look for that.
I'm
Our
not
pa-
recording.
We're still recording.
It timed out on it.
But our moms met today, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you can find it at least through that.
Yeah.
How has your musical style evolved over the years? How has it changed, shaped? Not necessarily like evolved. I hate that word.
Obviously, it's going to change in shape. And I do agree that the word evolved has been misused and misrepresented.
Yeah.
I do like the original meaning of the word.
Yeah, me too. But like nowadays, I
Right.
using it just because like, you say evolved and people automatically are like,
Hello?
oh, evolution.
Absolutely. So I guess the changing of my music has been, I guess recently I'm a little bit more reserved.
Mhm.
My intentions have changed. I'll go ahead and jump forward to that next podcast.
Yes. I love that. Lead in for the next episode. That's great.
Go ahead and tease that.
Yeah. Like a truth bomb right there.
Right.
What does your songwriting or composing process look like? Like if you're creating a line for, and I've heard you do it. I've not necessarily seen you come up with a line, but I've been there in church services where you played these lines before, like in there was one time where we went to your church, you did Jesus Said It, and just added some funky line, and Devin was like, what was that?
Yeah. So most of that stuff is either stuff that I worked on at home or a mistake. A lot of times, a lot of times I mess up and it sounds good. So I listen to the mess up and repeat it.
That works, I guess.
Yeah. Sometimes things are done intentionally, but
that's true. Sometimes it's an intentional mistake that's best.
Right.
That could be another good point for the next episode.
It could be.
So where do you start with in times like that?
What do you mean by?
So like when you're composing, or like I know you said it's a mistake, but sometimes it's like intentional. So let's go with the intentional ones. Do you start with like the melody, or do you focus on like a particular instrument and try to complement that?
So it's all up to inspiration. Sometimes I'll jump on drums and get a line for a bass
I've done that before.
Just from a kick pattern, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go on keys and mess around and I get a line for guitar. Sometimes it's actually, so today me and my brother sat down and we were trying to write a song, and it was a Bible verse that inspired the melody.
Like Proverbs 3, Todd Delaney there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
cool. And shout out to Austin. I greatly appreciate you.
So it was Seth.
And Seth too.
Who I was writing with. Yeah.
We appreciate both of you if you listen to this. Yeah, 5'6".
How do you handle creative blocks, feeling uninspired?
Are you in a mic? Okay.
The way I handle that is I listen to other musicians who are better than I am. It's important to always be listening. I view music as sort of a language. If you're always talking and never listening, you're never going to grow.
Yeah. You're not always shouting or whispering.
Right.
We mentioned that on the Overplaying podcast. You can't always shout at somebody or whisper. They're not going to listen to you because they can't hear you, or they just don't care at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What has been your most memorable performance experience by far, whether it was good or bad, or maybe one in both?
So this one was kind of both, and I think you both were there. Camp Shiloh, I want to say 23.
I know I was there. I don't know. You were on guitar that year.
I was on guitar. It was the first night. I had thrown a fresh set of strings on the week before. Yeah. And we're at altar call. We're doing this churchy, that sort of thing. And I'm doing my best to just kind of rip and solo over the entire thing. It's altar call. We're churching it. It's going
all out. It's full throttle.
Full throttle. And my B string gave up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was one of the strings.
The B string gave up. And in that moment, what do? I had an extra guitar, but if I switch, I ruin my tone and I ruin the moment.
Yeah.
So as a guitar player, what do? So the tuning got all messed up. My lower strings went a half step down, but my high E stayed at a high E. So I had to reteach myself how to play that guitar in that particular moment. I took the remaining string, wrapped it around my fingers, and kept playing.
That's so great. Yeah. So were you hearing like those changes? Like that was instantaneous changes. I don't think I asked you this then, but were you listening for that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You have to.
I was going to say, like, I guess it's possible that he just saw the string and was like, okay, I guess it could do this, and just went from there. But
no, you have to adjust on the fly for all of that.
Yeah. Have you ever faced any major challenges thus far in your music life?
So my biggest challenge musically is me.
Yeah.
Most times if I'm struggling, it's because I've got other things on my mind. And sometimes I just need to get away from music to overcome those challenges.
I know that feeling.
It's always me. It's always something in my head. I get frustrated with lines that I can't do.
Oh, and that's so easy for anybody.
Very. You can spend 3 hours. I've done it. Spend 3 hours on a line and get it down one time.
Mm-hmm.
You're recording it, right? So you can listen back to yourself. You listen and you're like, oh, wait, that note was wrong. I've been trying to learn it the wrong way for 3 hours.
Or you missed a note each time you practiced.
Right. Or you come back 6 months later and you're like, that's not right at all.
My favorite is when I'm learning a song and I get it and I can play it in church, and then we'll go back to it a few months later and I have no idea what I played
Yeah.
at all.
Yep.
That's so easy for us to be like, oh, I'm going to throw in the towel now. I'm done.
Right.
Then next question, Zeke.
What's something about the music industry that you think most people wouldn't understand or don't understand?
Whether it's maybe like beginner musicians or maybe someone not in music at all.
I think one thing that most people wouldn't really understand is the camaraderie between musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Your practice happens in the bedroom, at the church, wherever, right? And everybody hears about the time spent building your skills and your talents and developing that.
Absolutely.
But what's really not talked about a whole lot is building relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Even between like the three of us, the few years we've known each other.
And we haven't even played, we've not played one set at all together.
Exactly.
We jammed a couple of times. That was it.
Exactly. But I feel like musically we're connected because of our friendship.
Absolutely. And there's times where, like, let's say, Lord willing, it does happen. Let's say this year. Lord willing, it'll happen this year. But we do end up playing something together. We're going to be able to lock in pretty quickly.
Right.
Is we relatively understand each other's minds and how we approach music.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait until that time happens when we do play a set together. It's going to be so much fun.
It is going to be. I always look forward to playing with musicians of all calibers, of all backgrounds, of all ages. There's something you can learn from everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I think I took 2 questions there. Do you want to do another one?
Do another one. What's your go-to instrument and piece of gear that you can't live without?
So my go-to instrument right now is a Marcus Miller M7 6-string.
And for my lame brain,
Bass,
I mean,
right?
is that a bass?
Yes. Yep.
I thought so, but I wanted to make sure.
Yep. It's a bass. For guitar, I'm rocking a PRS Germani SE, a standard 24 SE, and then I actually
completely lost here, guys. I have no idea what any of these strings or anything mean.
And then I built a guitar that I've been
Really?
playing.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
You need to send me a video of that one.
I will.
If you've been playing it that much. Do you have any specific warm-up routines or habits before
that's a good
performing or practicing or maybe recording?
So I have a scale that I do. It's just one note per finger, all the way up, go up a fret, all the way down, upper fret, all the way up, upper fret, all the way down until you get to like the 12th fret.
Yeah.
I forget the math on it. It's a crazy amount of notes that you're supposed to do it, and you're supposed to do it clear in under like a minute.
Clean and fast.
Clean and fast. It's ridiculously hard. So that
sounds hard.
this one is the most important. Tune.
Yeah.
You gotta tune.
I think let's go make this broad statement. Any instrument you play, before you do anything, whether it's practicing, recording, or you're performing, you need to tune it.
Tune it.
Especially like drums, you need to fine tune your stuff. Piano, make sure you haven't hit transposed or changed the frequency on it.
Yes.
That
That's
actually
possible.
that happened to us the other night. We're in practice and Mom goes, "Hey, hit this note," which happens a lot. And she's like, "Man, something sounds wrong." The transpose button was on
Her ear
on
was
the keyboard.
on point, though. She was like, "Something's off." And we went through every instrument playing it together. Like, dude, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
She went up a whole step. So instead of playing C major, she was playing D major. Like, something's off.
Also, if you're a keyboard player, have your patches together beforehand.
Yeah.
If you're switching patches, switching sounds, have all that stuff ready beforehand. We were in service not that long ago, and my keyboard player switched to a sound that he thought he had prepped, and instead of it being a shout sound, it was this big ethereal,
Oh, no.
reverby,
Yeah.
huge sound. So
Let's come back to that in the next episode with the intentionality.
yeah,
How did he resolve that? That's going to be fun.
yeah.
Remind me of that. If I remember, I'll go back to it. But- So, what piece of advice would you give to musicians who are just starting out, whether that's on bass or guitar or whatever?
Or even pros.
Yeah, or maybe you have like a good tip for pros.
Practice, but have fun. If you're not having fun as a musician in church, you know the audience isn't. I believe it was Drayling Young said, and he was talking to singers when he said it, but I believe it applies to musicians.
I think singers are musicians.
I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. Which we can talk about that a little bit too. I feel like they get separated a lot, and they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't.
I think it, and I might be wrong. You guys are more singers than I am. I can't hold a tune at all. But I think it'd be easier as a singer to stray away because like you don't necessarily have something you can look at.
Could be.
Like you have to do it necessarily all by ear, even if you don't quote play by ear.
Yeah.
I don't think musicians as a whole give singers enough credit.
No.
I don't think they do.
It's always the drummer's fault though.
Yeah.
Every time.
I'm a drummer, so I feel that resonate with everybody out there. So
A piece of advice, though, like I was saying, Draylen Young said the audience is only going to give 50% of what you give. So even if you're at 100%, the audience is only realistically going to be at 50%.
that's good.
So if I want the audience to give 100%, I'm pushing myself beyond my limits in everything, in my chops, in my restraint.
Oh yeah.
That's big, which you guys have talked about that a little bit too.
Just a tad.
So I have to push myself in every area more than anybody else to get that result.
And side note here, shout out to Kingdom Speak. A while back, they did an episode about church zones. I don't know if you know Kingdom Speak.
Yes.
Listened to that. Did you hear that?
That
one?
was a good
With
episode.
Brad Lambeth?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that actually refers back to that. Once you start being intentional and you start intentionally worshiping while you're playing, like the Holy Ghost will help you play, for one. But then you're connecting with the audience. They're seeing you worship, and then they're going to respond more.
Right. The whole purpose of it is, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in the next episode, the whole purpose to me of music in church is to prepare the hearts and minds of the people for the Word of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole service, and I know my pastor's mentioned it. I don't know if your pastor
Sure, he has.
I'm sure he has, but I don't know. I don't go to your church that often. So, but the whole church service is centered around one point. It's not music. It's not necessarily preaching, although that's a big part of it. It's the altar call. Everything's pointing towards the altar call because you're wanting people to respond. And that's oftentimes when it happens.
Resolution.
Resolution. Yeah.
But if one part of that is off, the entire service is diminished, and not in a good way.
Right.
Means you will kill the mood.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've done that so many times myself, and
I have to.
you don't forget that.
No.
Nope.
Like, never do that again.
Right.
Yep. All right. Last question. What's next for you? Do you got any upcoming projects that you can share or collaborations that you're excited about?
As of right now, I don't have any major projects going on. There's some things in the works as far as I'm trying to create some songs with my brother. I need to be a little bit more intentional on that.
I feel that.
So mostly I think it's just going to be tightening stuff up at my local church, trying to get us together and having fun.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you for joining in for this interview. And then join us in the next episode. We're still debating on whether we'll release it at the same time or maybe the week out. Maybe we'll do it like a few days after this comes out, just so people have like time to listen to this. But join us in that episode for at least part 1. We might do a part 2 depending on how far this goes. But for intentionality of music, how can we be intentional to help better ourselves, others, and our worship?
Good.